doit s'en dire à tout.
What is going on, Jerk Faces? It's your boy, Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. And yes, we're back. I know last week we did a pre-tape. I hope you were satisfied with that, but we are now back live tonight and ready for a fun-filled show for you. Co-hosting this with me, as always, is the homeboy, Rob. But before we're gonna try and be
economical
and diligent about our time tonight, because we almost didn't have a stream tonight because of Rob's kooky schedule. So yes, it is his fault. So it would have been his fault. It would have been his fault.
But it's like, I'm glad we were able to do the show, so it's right. All good.
Yes, all thanks to me, because I made it happen. I'm just kidding. No, but I did coax Robert into coming and doing the show tonight. Promising him that we would be, really, diligent about our time, and I think for the most part we are. I mean, we started well before 8:30, so bravo for that. And I will be keeping it. I will try and make sure that we're a little bit more mindful of the time and keep things moving as much as quick as much as possible, but not shortchanging you lovely people on another lovely Tuesday night.
Oh no, we're gonna get some good content out there, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about still.
Oh yes, absolutely. If you checked out the the title for tonight's show, you kind of already have an idea of what we got in store for you. At least I can share with you this, that the movie review for tonight is keeping in with the theme for November, which is heist movies, and we have, I think, one of the greatest heist movies I think made, at least in the 90s, and that would be 1995's Heat by Michael Mann.
It's really good. Because I watched this a couple times before the in preparation for the month, and I guess I've seen some like the famous lines from it, but man, it's a good movie. I was actually really surprised.
Yeah, watching it, definitely gave me the feels a little bit. But, reminded me of when I was a younger man, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the review for this movie. But before any of that, let me just catch up with you really quickly. So Robert, how's your weekend?
Weekend was good. I actually had a couple days off. This is the first Veterans Day I've had off since I left the Navy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Rob is our resident veteran. So if I did, and it totally slipped my mind, and so thank you for your service.
Yeah, no, you had your Instagram post, so it's all good. And I'm not like, how dare you not recognize me? But no, it was nice to actually have Veterans Day off for the first time since I left the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I do this weekend? I've been watching a lot of films, mainly in preparation for reviews that we're going to be doing for this month and for next month, and for some future podcast episodes. So I've been kind of working on that. I ended up watching a movie with my girlfriend, not for a review, but it was we ended up watching Rear Window together, and she loved that movie. I could see her; she was like, she was on the edge of her seat, like kind of anticipating like what's gonna happen, and it's kind of nice. Like I like movies that I've seen that I enjoy a lot, but watching other people watch them for the first time, and they're excited about it. That's one of the best things in the world.
Mm.
So I did that. I've also been playing I started up a new game this past week called Judgment, and I'm already like it kind of grabbed my focus like right away. It's the main character is this guy who he's a private investigator who used to be like a lawyer, and it's set in like some fictional Japanese town. And right away, like you're starting to solve um, a mystery of like this serial killer that's going around killing yakuza members. And I was like, it's already got my attention. And it's a great game so far.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
other than that,
What was the game called again?
it's called Judgment.
Judgment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like there's a lot of cool storylines. The characters are really well done. I'm having a great time. I'm a sucker for like murder mysteries and solving cases, and I don't know. I like that. I like that type of stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're a self-admitted nerd. You read a lot as a kid, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's no real surprise that this game, kind of tickles your fancy.
Oh yeah. And then we have, well, the big gaming news. There was a big one that came out last Friday called Death Stranding. So I'm kind of excited I'm gonna pick that up probably in the next couple weeks and start playing that. The new Star Wars game comes out this Friday, which I want to up and play. So lots of good gaming content that I want to get into, but I'll get to it eventually. Maybe not on opening day, but I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, speaking of Star Wars, Disney just launched its streaming service, Disney Plus, today.
Yeah.
And they dropped the Mandalorian TV show. I haven't signed up for Disney Plus.
I will probably sign up mainly because of that. I really want to see Mandalorian, and I've already heard good reviews about it already.
Right. Just before we, throughout the day, I was just kind of catching up on some news and. Some of on YouTube and some of the reviewers that I watch. I guess they already did a quick review. Some of them, anyways, did a quick review of The Mandalorian, and they all said it's spectacular, better than what they're hoping for. One even once said that it annoyed him, but only because he sees how great or how quality of a production Mandalorian was, and then seeing what they gave us in like the movies just like it frustrated him beyond words.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel too. It's just like we're getting like there's other other Star Wars content that's coming out that's really good, well directed, great story, great characters. But the thing that should be at its best is not. It's just garbage. And I don't know. Hopefully 9 will be better, but I'm really not holding out much hope.
Yeah, I mean, especially if the rumors, because I did stumble into some of the videos about this rumor about a test screening of Episode 9 and how it did not go over well at all. partially to do with how Rey literally stomps the ass of the Emperor. Yeah, so I guess in the movie there's a battle, a lightsaber duel between Rey and the Emperor, and uh, Rey literally ass stomps the Emperor.
Here's the problem to begin with: is like, first of all, Emperor Palpatine is, in my opinion, he's dead, and they had a direction that they started to go with in Force Awakens, and it's like, you know what, we're not going to do any of that.
I mean, which hindsight being 2020, I'm at first I appreciated what they're trying to do, but looking back on it and having more of a critical and analytical eye to it, it's like the Force Awakens was creatively bankrupt.
Well, I mean, obviously now, because it's like, well, any of the potential like questions that were asked in that episode or in that movie, I mean, it's just, there's no point now, because
right. I mean, but just people. I know people give Rian Johnson shit, and rightfully so, but I don't think they give J.J. Abrams enough shit. Especially for Force Awakens, because it was a retread of New Hope. It's like it basically reset everybody. It may I mean, more or less, or at least certain characters like Han. At the end of Jedi, he was like this respected leader, and then all of a sudden, like, he has a bad marriage. His son goes to the dark side, and so he go back to smuggling. How does someone as famous as Han Solo go back into smuggling?
I think what he was trying to do was what he did with the Star Trek movies, um, which is kind of, which I think it worked for the new Star Trek films, did not really work quite so well with Star Wars.
Right, because with Star Trek, there was the benefit of there being such a thing as time travel within that universe. So then, them going back into the future, Romulans going back in time and altering the timeline. That makes sense because there is time travel within that universe. For Star Wars, no such concept of time travel exists in that universe.
Right.
Or at least at the time, because I know in Rebels they do kind of play with it, but in a very smart and very Star Warsy kind of way, which I appreciate. So like having like this like reboot kind of thing just doesn't work for Star Wars. Without the benefit of having pre-established time travel.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't disagree with you. I just, 7 was, especially compared to 8, it looks like a freaking masterpiece.
But I mean now I have almost the same loathing for 7 as I do for 8.
Yeah.
Almost. But but this new Mandalorian show seems very promising, and if I do decide to sign up for Disney Plus, especially now with like their introductory rate, which is $6.99, let's see how long that lasts.
Right.
But so if I do decide, what is it? Then I will definitely check it out, or maybe I'll just come over to your place and use yours.
That's a possibility too. I mean, yeah, because I'll probably get it mainly, for the Mandalorian. There might be some other stuff that, because I think like Simpsons are going to be on it now as well.
Right, I know, since Disney owns everything, so it was a little jarring though to see the Simpsons, because like before Disney Plus dropped, they used the Simpsons in a promo kind of thing. And they all had them dress up as like different, the different properties that they owned. And then, they had Bart dressed as Mickey Mouse, and Homer was Iron Man, and I think Marge was like Leia, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, it was a little bit jarring to see that, but I'll always love The Simpsons.
What was it?
I'll always love The Simpsons, though.
Right, but that's kind of the new questions. Like, what is Simpsons gonna be like under the House of Mouse?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, will they be able to retain their edge, or will they be somehow neutered in some capacity?
Well, here's the thing too. Is like even if, like, let's say, because they're in like season 32 or something like that now. Even if there is slightly less edge, we have 30 plus seasons of edginess to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my hope is that like they're not like they're leaving the episodes that they have as is, and not like
and do the Star Wars thing. It's like, oh, that's just Legends. That's just Simpsons Legends now.
Or where it's not like, oh, that episode's a little insensitive. We're gonna take that out, or for the sake of like, ooh, well, there's the whole Apu incident. We're gonna take out every episode that has Apu in it, which is a lot of episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the most popular recurring characters.
He's a great character.
Yeah. Stupid fucking Indian guy. Not Apu the character, but that supposed comedian who was fine with Apu for 20 years, but for some reason, out of nowhere, he finally takes onus with Apu.
It kind of reminds me of like what would happen. Like, it's kind of like the Ned Flanders thing, where it's like, Flanders, I thought you had. It's like, I thought you had a satellite dish. Yes, sirree. 300 channels all blocked out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
I know, right? Okay, there it is. Alright. It's catching up. It's catching up. Okay.
Our technical difficulties card should just be you choking me out.
I know. I can use a Simpson thing. Just slap our faces on it. Okay. It says the stream has resumed. I got a green light. Let me just try doing this. Okay. Okay, there it is. Just had to refresh. But we're back. Anyways. Yeah, I guess.
You were talking about
what was that?
You were talking about The Simpsons.
Oh, right. Yeah, don't mean to sound overly harsh or critical, but again, I grew up with it. I do feel some sort of ownership, and that is not as though like when it was under Fox, I was enjoying like the latest episodes all that much, especially because of the kind of like the creeping politics of it.
Yeah.
But I do feel a sense of it's kind of like the way I feel about Star Wars. Disney might own it, but it belongs to the fans. And similarly with the Simpsons, Disney might own it, but it belongs to the fans.
Yeah, it's just The Simpsons. It's one of those things that it's transcended itself, where it's. I said The Simpsons is a part of my life. which is kind of, I mean, how many times do I quote The Simpsons? I mean, at least once an episode.
Right, I know,
It's
yeah. Right, we actually stop and we actually like make special reference, like, hey, this is your Simpsons reference of the of the episode.
Yeah, some people do it with The Legend of Zelda. Some people do it with Seinfeld, or it's.
Right, yeah, we do it with the Simpsons.
But
all right,
yeah, it's. We'll see how everything goes with Disney Plus.
Right, yeah, we'll just it's a wait and see kind of thing. Just for me, real quickly, over the weekend. It was James's birthday. And we went out to this kind of like sports bar place in K Town. It was pretty cool. They had like a virtual batting cage.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I didn't participate.
They didn't have gloves that fit you.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have any. Every single time, they never have gloves that they never have my size. What was that?
I think you should raise a stink. Make his birthday about you.
I know. I was like, how dare they? It's like, how can you not have gloves in my size?
How dare you?
How absolutely dare you? I know. I should have brought my pearls to clutch. But it was really cool. Had some drinks. Caught up with some people I haven't seen in a while. Although I hate to admit that we didn't stay out longer than what is it, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
If I'm if I'm to make myself any more of a loser, then we just didn't but also like James had just a little bit too much, so we just kind of wrapped it up for the night and we headed home. On Monday, since it was Veterans Day, and my father had his annual appointment with his cardiologist, me and my sisters all went with him to his appointment, and then also had brunch together afterwards. Luckily, nothing wrong, nothing to worry about. His EKG was normal, no complaints or anything like that.
All
Although
right,
we did there. What was that?
That means all right, steak for breakfast.
Actually, yes, I did have steak and eggs for breakfast, but I was a little sad because they overcooked my steak.
What is it with you? Like, do you have unless you're with me, you have the worst luck with like steaks at restaurants. What is that?
It's true. And it's hilarious because it's like the person even asked me, how do I want my steak, and I said medium, and they're like, okay, and I get it, and they had it like even pre-cut for me, and it was well done. I was like, why do you even ask?
I think here's the thing. I think a lot of it, because there are a lot of Asians that I've noticed is like, oh, well done. Like they want their steak well done. And like when I was with you though, because I think we both got ours like medium rare. Came out medium rare. It's like maybe it's like you.
Right, I know. I just can't. Whenever I go have steak, I just need a white person with me.
I think that's what you need.
That's the only way I can ensure that I get remotely what I ordered. But it's just like, it really kind of baffles the mind. You ask somebody how how they want their steak, and they tell you, and then you're like, it's like, fuck it, just I'm gonna make it however I want it.
Because there's a lot of cuts, like, you get past medium, it's like, just throw it in the trash at that point.
Exactly. And I forget what cut it was. It wasn't. Thank God it wasn't a ribeye.
Oh God, that would infuriate
That would have
me.
just been like I would have raised hell if it was a ribeye and it came out like it came out the way that it did. I would have raised hell. Um, but there was one part where it's like it tasted like an ashtray because there was like one part that it did get burnt and it was a thin cut of steak. Um, not to excuse the person. It's just man, I'm gonna get all worked up again.
It's
But
okay.
even
It's steak. It's important.
it's important. I didn't say anything at the time because it's like I kind of was like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to go and like make a steak? Um,
Yo,
and I
I don't know.
decided I decided not to say anything because it was a really thin cut. It was a really thin cut of steak, like thin, like less than half an inch. Like it probably started off as like a half an inch thick, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe quarter of an inch. Quarter of an inch. Yeah, that makes more sense. Quarter of an inch cut, and when it came out to me, it was like smaller than a quarter of an inch, and so it was a really thin cut. Maybe just got away from them. But even then, at that point, you should have been like, "Oh shoot, this is supposed to be medium and not well done," and not sent it out to the person. You
Yeah.
know? I'm saying so pissed off now. Look what you did, Robert.
Yeah. Well, here's because this brings to mind too. Like, unless like I'm going to like some new restaurant or place I've never been before, there's certain places where like during the week I have kind of like, somewhat of a set routine. So like, there's certain places I go to like when I'll have dinner at this place or lunch at this place, whatever, and I kind of know what I want to order. And what throws me off is like when they fuck it up. It's like it almost like throws off like my whole like routine or like my whole day. It's like, well, I can't even eat this now. This is garbage. Where it's like I've had so many bad drive-through experiences recently where it's like, I mean, am I mumbling? Am I not speaking clearly? Like how is it like consistently like they always like fuck it up? It's like, I mean, the common denominator must be me at some point. Like maybe or it's just the incompetence. I don't know, but
I don't know,
but then
but
it's like it'll be right, but not right at the same time. It's like it throws me off.
well, here's something like about McDonald's. Like, I'm starting to get really annoyed with McDonald's because they're like being so penny pinchy um, about everything. Like now, like they don't even give you like one napkin, and like they don't give you like ketchup or anything like that. The last like couple of times I went, I looked in the back and it was just like it was my food, yes, what I ordered, yes, but like no napkins, no packets of ketchup. They don't even ask if you want any of these either. They just cam to you, and I'm and I'll be fair and I say if you want ketchup and if you want napkins, you should ask. Fair, completely fair enough, right? But there's a level of there's a certain level of service which McDonald's used to pride themselves on,
Yeah.
which is now like non-existent.
I think it depends too on like which ones you go to, because some of them are like there are some like independently owned McDonald's franchises
Right, but they're still part of the
do have
franchise.
true, but they do tend to have a little bit better service than just your you know chain you know chain McDonald's. Like I know it's kind of like your thing is like, but it's still McDonald's, right? It's like it
Yeah.
is and it isn't
I
at
mean,
the same
yes,
time.
if each franchise person is set to a certain standard, which the corporate McDonald's is responsible in implementing. Yes,
Like the food standards are still like the same. Like your Big Mac
right,
is
and
still going to
that's
be
all
Big.
corporate. Each the same amount of pickles are in a Big Mac in California as there is in New York. That's
Right.
all corporate. But even still, it's like train your people better, and throw some like hospitality in it, and like small things like napkins and condiments goes a big way, goes a long way.
Yeah, because there'll be certain McDonald's like, well, this one's closer, but this one is not as good as the one, a couple blocks away. So I'll drive further to go to the other one that I know will do a better job. It's like
Right.
it's kind of like I've gotten to the point where I've done that, where it's just
Mm,
like, why do you go to this one? It's like because it's better.
I know.
But it's McDonald's. Don't understand. Like I know what I'm doing here.
Right. Yeah, it's like that bit in Family Guys. I think it was like the end of the world episode, and they have to restart civilization, and the eldest son Chris is like, when they're talking about like, oh, we're gonna rebuild society. He's like, yeah, and then the son says, it's like, yeah, and 2 Denny's, so we can go like, oh, let's not go to that Denny's, let's go to the other one, let's go to the better one.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So yeah, um, yeah. I mean, I think the first kind of sign of like the decline of hospitality. I mean, even like the limited hospitality that you get at fast food restaurants. The first sign of it was when McDonald's was like really penny pinching with like the napkins, and now it's like you have to like pull each individual napkin out of the dispenser,
Fuck those things.
right? Also, and then also they have like the little cups and like the ketchup fountain instead of giving
Yeah.
you the packets.
Yep.
What's wrong with you, McDonald's?
Poor
All right.
thing.
Anyways, I think okay. Let's keep this right on rolling along. And Robert, why don't you start off with your story?
Well, since I'm already frothing at the mouth, why not? It's like,
Yeah, because like mine, I need
so
my story isn't as like I don't need like my dander to be raised. So yeah, so this will give me a chance to kind of cool down. So take it away.
because we all believe that Epstein killed himself. So so um, was it last week? There was the I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Project Veritas. They're a they're a group that of actually people reporting on news and important things, kind of revealing uh, hypocrisy and kind of blowing the whistle. Especially, they've done a lot on the on big tech and on the abortion industry. They've put out a lot of important articles and videos on what's going on with that, and just kind of the sinister happenings behind what's going on there. And it's not well they've implanted people in there, but lately a lot of people have been coming to Project Veritas and like kind of, hey, you guys got to check this out. This is what's going on behind the scenes. And uh, last week there was a video that was given to them that was from ABC News, with one of their anchor women, or I don't know which show she's on ABC, but she was talking about how 3 or 4 years ago she had coaxed one of the women that was in hiding after and she knew about all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and she had photos and evidence and talking about like people that were going to this pedophile island, all this shit, and ABC was told her to scrub it, like there was don't report it, and now like all this stuff is coming out, and she's talking about like, well, I'm pissed. I had all this stuff 3 years ago, and that just goes to show you that like, wow, they ABC like. I mean, I already knew that the media sucked anyways, but this is just another, blatant example of like how this is why I don't trust, the mainstream media at all because of this. It's like, and on top of that, so then later in the week, because they're furious. ABC is obviously absolutely furious. They are on a exploration to string and quarter whoever blew the whistle, and the person who they believe to have done it was some producer who ended up moving to CBS recently, and CBS ended up firing this person. First of all, it's like, how is it you were on ABC and now you're on and CBS fired you? So how are these rival companies, like, why are they in cahoots, colluding with one another? And on top, but here's the most horrific thing is, like, she was not the whistleblower. She didn't do it. So it's like, it's insane. And this is just, to me, reason number 100,000 why I don't trust anything that comes out of the mainstream media.
Right. But what does it also say about, like, her response, where she wasn't upset that hundreds, if not thousands, of young girls, or or children were being being abused and raped.
No, she didn't give a shit
But
about
she
that.
was more upset that she lost the scoop.
Yeah, she's mad she didn't break the story, not because of what was happening to these people.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think that says more. Yeah. Good for her for wanting to come out with this story. Back when, but it's just like, you're more indignant about, like, losing this, losing the exclusive, and and the scoop, as opposed to would have been able to put away these monsters sooner, to save save the lives of, like, countless thousands of young people and children.
Well, I mean, this is also the same news corporation that after the whole thing going on with Syria, and when Trump finally pulled the troops out of there, they were showing supposed footage of Turkey attacking the Kurds, except, oh wait, it wasn't any of that. It was actually some sort of gun show going on.
There's a gun range in Kentucky, probably doing, like, a Mad Minute sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's like, and then it's like, oh, whoops, sorry. It's who would have guessed? Kentucky, Syria. They're so close together.
Right. And they never. What's that thing that they do in journalism when, like, if you made a retraction.
Yeah.
Their retraction wasn't on air, wasn't on the news program that they first broke it on. They did it on their Twitter account, right? And if you just follow me on my reasoning here. It's like, people who are watching the news program, the one that's on TV, aren't on Twitter.
Right.
So, in, like, the demographic that still watches, the news program on TV, is like, I think the median age is, like, 60 years old. And they're not on Twitter. So, as far as they're concerned, that was an attack on some Syrian village.
Yeah, it was the Turks, taking retaliation against the Kurds. That was done on purpose. I guarantee that wasn't a mistake. That was done on purpose because Trump derangement syndrome.
Of course. And they know that the median, they know that the median audience of their news programs, 60 plus, aren't on Twitter. They're not engaged as much as say our age demographic, or even younger. They're not. They're not. The ones that are watching the TV programs aren't on Twitter, so they never see the retraction.
And it's kind of the same thing with what the you know the newspapers will do too, where it's like they'll come out with these giant headlines, and it's like, oh whoops, we got the story wrong, but they print that retraction on like page Z8, as opposed to the front page, like oh whoops, we got the story wrong.
Right.
And no one's reading that far, and so as far as everyone else knows, that headline or whatever, that's the truth.
Yeah, as far as anyone else is concerned, that headline is still good and accurate.
And it's everyone bitches about Trump saying that the media is the enemy of the people, but you can clearly see that they are out there manipulating stories so much, where it's not even like this is. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of left-wing news sources, but it's not even like a right-wing, left-wing thing, or right-wing or left-wing thing. It's manipulation. It's sickening.
Right. I mean, here's the thing about the news. I want it to be right more than 2 times a day.
Yeah.
That. And for those of you not following that, that's that old idiom of a broken watch being right twice a day. I want my news to be accurate and right more than twice a day. I want them to I want them to have as accurate. I want them to give me as accurate a portrayal of what happened as possible. I want all the facts. I want all the pertinent players, and then that's it. That's all I want, and then I'll make up my own mind about it. But the constant editorializing of news, of events, is just it's just getting so tiresome. Yeah. It's getting so tiresome. It's like just this past Sunday, I had this interaction with this young woman, and she's about to come of age, and she'll be able to vote, and the subject of like who she would vote in 2020 came up, and it's like, well, certainly not Donald Trump. And then I was just curious because I want to know what the other side is thinking. And she simply said, it's like, oh well, he just denies reality. And I was just like, oh well, how does he deny reality? He's like, oh yeah, well, like things like like climate change and things like that. Like there's like fires going on around us like all the time. He's like, how is that not related to climate change? And and I pushed back on her. I was like, well, it could be also poor management. And she kind of had like this bewildered look on her face. She's like, well, what do you mean poor management? And I broke it down for her. It's like, well, what if it's because we're not doing enough to clear out overgrowth, or the infrastructure is to a point of failure, and that we're not replacing, we're not doing maintenance and repairs. Wouldn't that make more sense than Trump denying that there's such a thing as climate change? And then and after that, she's like she kind of didn't know how to respond to that. I'm hoping she
an alternate theory.
Right, it's like because okay, here's the thing about that that interaction. It was almost like we were talking about Santa Claus. And yeah. She was basically saying, it's like, oh well, I leave cookies out every Christmas Eve, and in the morning they're gone, so therefore there is a Santa Claus.
Right.
That's the worldview that she's presenting. I come in with an alternative perspective, where it's like, well, maybe that might be true, but isn't it more likely that that your parents come during the middle of the night and eat the cookies so that you could continue to believe that there is such a person as Santa Claus. And that's exactly and that's what this climate change kind of hysteria is kind of like, because they keep saying like, oh, climate change is real, look all around you, the evidence is everywhere. It's like, well, I have some alternative evidence that makes a little bit more sense, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand it, or you don't have to be a climatologist to understand it. It's just simple, like, does this make sense?
Yeah, it's like we don't have to fear the scary sun monster.
Right, exactly. I mean, I could have blown her away with a bunch of facts, like the fact that NASA says that the Antarctic snow is growing more than it was losing in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like the supposed the UN climate report, like nearly everyone associated with that paper is asking for their names to be removed from it. Like, why wouldn't you want your name to be associated with such a it's a historical landmark research paper?
Yeah.
What else? What was another one? Oh, right. In 2004, Al Gore said that by 2011, Florida would be underwater. Last time I checked, Florida was still there and still full of crazy people.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like you even go back to, I think it was like the late 60s and into the 70s, where they were fearing like the problem wasn't global warming, or it wasn't like the heating of the earth. It was like that we were going to get so cold that like stuff was going to freeze over and all this other stuff. So it's constantly moving. This is, constantly moving the goalpost. It's essentially like those doomsday cultists who are always like, the end of the world is coming and this date and time. Oh, it didn't come. Oh, let me refactor here.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sorry, I forgot to carry the 2.
Yeah. And
but I mean, going back to the initial point, that and you wonder why, like, nobody or no one should trust the media. That's exactly why. I mean, you have this young girl who thinks that because Trump took us out of the Paris Climate Accords, or he denies climate change being a real thing, that's what makes him an evil person. That's what makes him a bad president.
Well, and here's the thing with that Epstein story too. Going back to that, is that they were saying like, well, because they came out with some, cockamamie, lawyer speak excuse, and the they were saying like pretty much like, well, the story wasn't really ready to air, and all this stuff. It's like, so you didn't do any other, like, if let's say that's true, right? Which I don't think it was. Okay, let's say that's true. Didn't decide to follow up on that any further, ask any more questions, find any more witnesses willing to talk. Didn't do any of that. No. Oh, that's a darn shame. That's funny how that worked out. And then 2, also, talking about like the media collusion on the left, is you have like CNN, and you have, fat boy Brian Stelter, who that's his whole job, is to talk about stuff that's going on within the media, and he doesn't, I think, mention it like for like half a second, maybe, if it's like, oh, nah, not a big deal. He was bitching it. He spent like an hour talking about like, Trump's tweets and like how with all the typos he has. Didn't decide to mention this story though.
Right. Yeah. So
because one,
Yeah.
I don't know which.
I mean, at this point, no one should be trusting the media. No one, everyone should have have a critical mind and a skeptic's attitude whenever you hear anything from the news.
Yeah, it's insane.
Any other thing that you want to add to
The only thing I can say is that Epstein didn't kill himself.
that? Hey man, you might get kicked. You might get booted again. Although it is kind of scary because they did update the terms and services for YouTube, and some of the things I've been hearing about it, I haven't actually sat down and read through them. But
It's pretty.
if some of the things that I've heard are true, it does not bode well for us. So yeah, I'll have to take the weekend and really go through the terms and services.
Yeah, and we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah. All right. All right. On to the next story, which is the story of the young man who got arrested for eating on a subway platform.
Was he eating a Subway sandwich on the Subway platform?
That would have been perfect.
What is it? Trademark infringement?
Or that would absolutely been perfect. It might have been. It was the video that I saw. I don't remember seeing a distinct marked wrapper. But it just looked like a breakfast sandwich. And I know Subway has dipped their toes within the breakfast sandwich market. But
it was Subway sandwich for their breakfast sandwich. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Yeah, just the irony is just too delicious. There's this young man who.
Flushing it with the power of Jussie Smollett.
You're right. But there was this young man. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and he was on his way to work. And he had a breakfast sandwich in his hand, and then because this was in the Bay Area, so one of the metro policemen, the BART police, came and told him like, hey, you can't eat on the platform. And the young man started kind of caught them an attitude. And it was from that point that things kind of escalated, and the policeman tried to take him in under arrest, but he wasn't having it, and so it wasn't until he called for backup, and then two more police came, and he was finally restrained, and then taken into interview room, and was just and he was given a citation. But if you watch the video, it's me and Robert were talking before we started the show, and I was telling him how this is one of those situations where it didn't have to go that far. It was just maybe the cop could have handled it better. Maybe the young man, he could have just he could have handled it better, but nobody handled it really well, and so now we have this stupid situation. The video, it doesn't. There's supposedly a longer video, like 15 minutes. I didn't see that one. I just saw the interaction between the young man and the police officer. But it was hilarious because the cop said well, you can't eat up here because it's against the law, and the guy's response was like, so what? And that just kind of like told me all that I needed to know.
See, I would have been different. It's like, and where does it say that? Was it? It's like, because I
Right.
assumed there was not signs
Right,
saying
because
no eating.
there's a young woman there who was recording the entire thing, and she was starting to ask like, "Oh, where are the signs? Where are the signs that says that you're not allowed to eat up here?" And the officer did say like there are signs, up around the station, and I did read an article where I think what was it, like a supervisor or something did say that there are signs that say that you can't eat on top, on the platform or in the cars themselves. Um, and I'm just gonna, and I'll just take their word for it. Because it is a supervisor. It's not just like it's not just a cop that's put on the spot. It's someone who's had times like, yeah, there are signs posted up. But also there is a law. There is a law on the books. PC 640B Section 1. Eating or drinking in or on a system, facility, or vehicle in areas where those activities are prohibited by that system.
All right.
Yeah. So because like the cop says that it's against California law, and so yeah, there's the law. Public Code 640B Section 1.
Makes me wonder. It's like, why the hell is that law even there? Like,
Right. Actually, I was actually talking to my sister about this because we were watching the news, and this is what this is and the story came on the news, and we're discussing it. It's like, oh, it's probably like it's probably they'll probably cite sanitation reasons and health code. It's like, oh, if you eat on the platform or whatever, and you just like some people aren't always as courteous as other people. And they just might, drop their food or whatever, which will, bring in bugs and, rodents, which will bring in like disease and things like that. So that's probably why that particular law exists on the books.
yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, this situation didn't have to happen that way. Of course, the statement from the primary officer, he was saying like how he was kind of like walking, he was kind of making rounds around the platform, and he saw this young man eating it, his sandwiches, and told him initially, he's like, hey, you can't eat that up here, and then like went about his business, and then came back, and then the young man was still eating the sandwich, and that's when he decided to confront him on it. So it's like, it's not as though like he saw him eating the sandwich and like went up to him and it's like starting stuff for no reason. Like again, I'm just gonna go by the word of the primary police officer and say and take his word for it that he was just doing his round, and he just gave him a verbal warning. Hey, you're not supposed to eat that up here. And it wasn't until like he came back and saw the guy still eating the sandwich that he just was just doing his job.
Yeah, I think it could have, when your response is, so what? It's like,
Right,
well,
just like, it's like, oh, I raped, it's like, it's like, you raped my mom. It's like, so what?
yeah.
It's like, I just killed, it's like, he's like, you killed my dad. It's like, so what? He's like, you're having an affair with my wife. It's like, so what?
Probably could have been handled a lot better on all fronts, but yeah, maybe the guy was kind of being a dick.
Yeah, and I mean, all he had to do is like, oh, it's like, if you wanted to push back a little bit, it's like, oh, like, where are the signs? And then the cop there just like pointed to him to a sign, and that might have been the end of it.
It's like, oh, okay, sorry. Boom, it's done.
Right. Or or let's take the position that this cop was being a dick. All we had to do was like ask him like what law prevents me from eating on the platform. And then have them cite that code, right? And all you have to do is
Right.
write it down. Break out your since everyone now walks around with supercomputers in their pockets, bust out the phone, type it in, and see if it's an actual thing.
Right.
Right? Or and then also if he feels if he feels like this cop is overstepping, abusing his authority a little bit, get a badge number. Get a
Yeah.
badge number,
That's all
and
I have
then
to do.
take it to the supervisor. I
That's all you
mean,
gotta do.
yeah, this this didn't have to go down that way. This guy didn't have to be restrained and then be carried off like he was some sort of criminal. Um, but it just goes to this kind of attitude that people have nowadays, or they're just outright being taught that that you can't that you don't have to listen to police, or it's okay to disrespect law enforcement. Um, and this guy was he was even pulling the race card, because he was like because if you notice, I did not indicate what this man's ethnicity was, but he's a black man. And of course, he pulled the race card. It's like, oh, you just targeted me because I'm a black man. Well, it's like, well, clearly from the reporting and of the incident and the statements from the arresting officer and the supervisors, it's like, no, this guy was just doing his job.
Yeah. It's the fact that we are kind of in a society now where authority figures are like, fuck you. It's kind of, we have a really terrible attitude towards people that are just trying to do their job. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, there's bad apples there too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of jerk cops out there, but there's a lot of it's kind of like how in sports, the referees don't get applauded for man, you did great. It's like you did
Right.
a great job. It's only man, he fucked up big time, and it's like we got
Mm-hmm.
to change the whole system, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's when it escalated quickly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's again. This is one of those situations where it didn't have to go down this way. It didn't have to end up the way that it did. Um, you know, I think the advice of Larry Elder is more than applicable in this situation. It's like, yes sir, no sir. You know, uh, have a good day, sir. Or if you feel like this, and again, and then also if you feel like this person was overstepping their authority, get a badge number.
Yeah.
Or get their names. Get their name, badge number, or both, and then go take it to their supervisor.
That's all you got to do. All right. Should we get into the
All
movie review?
right, that's all I have to say about that. All right, let's get into our movie review for the week. And this week's movie, again, I mentioned at the top of the show, but again, if you're just joining us, this week's movie is Heat, directed by Michael Mann.
It
What was
wasn't
that?
in the heat of the night.
No, I know. Don't. Yeah, and it's not The Heat. Starring what's her face? Uh, Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock. Not that movie. It's just Heat.
Thank God.
Yeah. Uh, but all right, let me just give you the quick synopsis of this movie. Okay, master criminal Neil McCauley is trying to control a rogue. Is trying to control the rogue actions of one of his men, while also planning one last big heist before retiring. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Hannah attempts to track down McCauley as he deals with the chaos in his own life, including the infidelity of his wife and the mental health of his stepdaughter. McCauley and Hannah discover mutual respect even as they try to thwart each other's plans.
Yeah, and you have was it
Yeah, and
Neil?
again, this movie stars in the main characters. It stars Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, Danny Trejo, Ashley Judd.
Yeah, star-studded cast, man.
Yeah, Natalie Portman's even in this movie. Um, yeah, just really big, big stars. Maybe not as big as they, are now or used to be, but yeah, I mean, at the time, really big names, and
Heavy hitters.
What was that?
Yeah, some heavy hitters.
Yeah, heavy hitters for sure. It was crazy because for some reason, I always thought that Ashley Judd's character was, I didn't, I forgot that it was Ashley Judd. For some reason, in my mind, I thought it was Charlize Theron.
Well, I think it's because she was a blonde in this film, and she
Right,
does
exactly.
have very. And this is like hot Ashley Judd, not before she turned into a crazy feminist.
Right.
So
it's
she
like,
does
choose! Kind of look like. Yeah. But I think it was that time, or about the time that Charlize was coming up. Like she was doing bit parts and whatnot, and so
right.
I think So I think in my mind I just just replaced Ashley Judd with Charlize Theron. But yeah, Ashley Judd was hot in this movie.
Oof, yeah, she was.
But yes, for those of you who may not be aware, but Heat is actually a remake uh, from an early Michael Mann production because this movie is written and directed by him. But he had previously tried to make this movie in the either late 80s or early 90s. But he put it out as a TV movie, and it didn't have the star power or the financial backing that the '95 iteration had. So I've been trying to find a copy of it, a version of it online, but to no avail. The closest thing that I got was the scene where Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's characters are are sitting down and they basically they have that kind of parlay.
Oh, that was a great scene.
That's the greatest. I love that scene. It's so good.
Just the tension between those two, but at the same time, like this weird, like they have this mutual respect for one another, and
right,
they realize that they're exactly the same person, just on the opposite. They're the same person, just different sides of the coin.
I did want to broach that subject, but yeah, I saw the closest thing to the original that I was able to find was this clip on YouTube of that scene, but in the TV movie.
Oh, the TV version.
Yeah, the TV movie, and it was rough. It was basically the same kind of interaction, but by two lesser actors.
Yeah.
And
did it work for you?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
Did the scene work for you? Because did you watch that scene with the other actors?
Yeah, that's the only clip that I was able to find actually online.
Right.
was the same scene in Heat where the two are having like that conversation, but it's done in in the TV movie, and of course it doesn't have the benefit of being allowed to swear, reduce production value in terms of like lighting and things like that, and also two lesser actors. Not in, I don't mean in terms of notoriety, but just in terms of caliber. It's like
I think too, like because De Niro and Pacino have such great chemistry on camera together, and it's really hard to find that sometimes.
Right. But yeah, it was rough. But again, like you had mentioned earlier, how these guys are basically the same person. It's interesting because they're dressed similarly in this movie, and I don't again I can't really talk about like the TV movie, but in that scene, um, the same diner scene where they're doing the parlay, um, you know Al Pacino's character, Lieutenant Hanna, is kind of dressed more or less how a cop would dress in like the late '80s, early '90s, um, and the Macaulay character, he's dressed kind of more or less like the stereotypical like bad guy, like jeans and denim, jeans and a denim jacket.
Right.
And I think the Heat version is a lot better because if he in the earlier version, if he was trying to show that these guys were similar, it didn't work because they're because just superficially they were dressed differently. So it didn't show that they had like the same kind of mentality, as opposed to in Heat. Throughout the entire movie, they're dressed more or less the same, kind of like suit, um, kind of the same kind of neutral palette, and so and so just like that visual indication of like these guys are the same, They're on different sides of the law, but they're like their mentality is the same, their ethic is the same, their resolve is the same.
Right. And yeah, it's kind of weird because you don't really know who you're rooting for, and because I mean obviously you want Detective Hanna to he's kind of the good guy, you want him to win, but at the same time you also respect you know Macaulay as well, because it's like he's not, he's a thief, he's a bad guy, but he's not like a completely like, he's above kind of the thuggish criminal, like he's more because he cares about like the people around him, like his team.
Right. Yeah, Robert. The one thing that was really marked, or that really stuck out to me, was the asceticism of Robert De Niro's character. Just like like even in the parlay between Hannah and Macaulay, Hannah's like, "What are you, some sort of monk?" But Macaulay has like this very austere asceticism where like it's like he has that line where it's like, if you can't walk away in 30 seconds or less, then you shouldn't be involved.
Right. And here's the thing
and
too,
he's like, and he even calls it a discipline. It's like, it's a discipline. And I mean, it culminates in the last scene of the movie where he goes and gets like his revenge against like this former crew member who sold him out. And he's about to, and all he has to do is get in the car and then leave with his girl. But then he spots Hannah coming towards him, and he makes that decision. He sticks to his discipline. And even though he really likes this, even though he really likes this girl, he walks away.
And it's like, oh man, that was a heartbreaking scene. It's like,
I know, it's just like, God, it's like, because you know that he really likes this girl.
yeah,
But then he's like his devotion to like his philosophy, or like his like refusal of attachment, basically.
right.
It's like so hardwired into him now that it's just like he just does it.
Well, and here, here's the other thing, kind of comparing these two characters. You have, because every time they show um, Macaulay's house, it's this big, like it has a great view. It's nice and big, spacious. Nothing in it. Has
Right,
absolutely
empty.
nothing in it. And on the same side, you have Detective Hannah, who he's not even in his own house, and his only possession is this shitty like portable TV. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that like. That's the
Right.
only
He only has the TV.
yeah.
Do we
And
lose
so
you?
it's kind of like it's like they both are the only thing that they really have is their craft.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Because they're like during like their parlay, they were talking about like, oh, I'm the best at what I do, and I don't see myself doing anything different. That's what Robert De Niro's character tells Al Pacino's character, and Al Pacino's character is like, yeah, I'm the same way. I've been putting away bad guys for like so many years that that's all I'm good for. But it's interesting that there's this movie's so great because they're like these men are mirror images of each other, but slightly different because Macaulay's character he doesn't form attachments, so that he never has to so he never has to deal with like kind of like the consequences of his actions or his association or his attachments.
Right.
But Detective Hannah, on the other hand, he doesn't have attachment because he doesn't want to burden anybody else.
Right.
Because of the consequences of his action, because or his job, because like there was that scene where he was fighting with his wife, and
Oh, another great scene.
and he had just come from a gruesome crime scene, and like and he was affected by it, and the wife wanted wanted to share kind of share that load, share the heaviness with him, but he's like, no, this is my thing, I signed up for it, not you, so I'm not going to share it with you. And he goes, and he says as much, and he's like, oh, well, you know what? I just came from a triple homicide, 3 bodies there, just lying lying in the dirt, no, wait, that wasn't it. No, he was talking about like the psychopath that microwaved his baby because it was crying too much.
Right.
Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, so yeah, let me share that with you. It's like, it's just like, and he was like trying to spare her that. And so in a similar way to Macaulay, he kind of stays away from attachments uh, for kind of an unselfish reason, so he doesn't burden anybody else with the knowledge that he knows that how fucked up the world is.
Yeah, it's this is like I was because this is because I watched this movie a couple times before doing the review, and this is the first time I've actually ever seen the film,
Uh huh.
and I had heard about it, and when I watched it, it's like, man, there's a surprising amount of depth to this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
All the characters were really As obviously, especially the main two, but like the whole movie, man, it was a surprising amount of depth and insight into this film. It was great.
Yeah, and I mean,
one thing,
like all the characters, I think all emphasize a certain aspect of of specifically man. Because you have like the very like disciplined and austere Macaulay, and you have the protective. You have the protective and the protective and stoic kind of Detective Hannah, and then you have like the wild kind of unchecked unruliness of Waingro.
oh yeah, he's
And then you
he's
have like the
great.
kind of, and then you have like the kind of loyalty of what was Tom Sizemore's character's name?
Shoot.
But
Drawing a
yeah, he
blank.
he was like just like kind of like uh, the in it all the way, blood in blood out kind of like loyalty.
Right.
So yeah, it's just like these great examples of that kind of like, or kind of the different facets of masculinity.
Yeah. Yeah, you had what was the well, one other thing too that I found, because I'm still trying to figure out like because Al Pacino is an interesting actor in my opinion. I think he's a good actor,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been trying to pinpoint like the exact moment like in his acting career where he went from more of a kind of uh, I guess more of like a dramatic acting, okay, like what we see from like The Godfather
Mm-hmm.
to what we get in Heat is like bombastic, Al Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out which movie like where he went from like his like Michael Corleone to like
Right,
what
that
he
very kind
was.
of nuanced and subtle kind of performance to like, it's like to the you can fuck my wife, but you can't watch my TV.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like chewing his gum like super loudly and just acting kind of like a dickhead.
I think it was sometime during this period, and I think one of those bombastic performances that you mentioned might have been Scent of a Woman.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, yeah, because it is a kind of a subdued, nuanced performance, but there are moments of him being kind of like bombast.
Because I think like there's some point between like his performances in like Serpico
Mm-hmm.
and Scarface that I think it was like something changed in his acting style.
Right, yeah, because Serpico was kind of bombastic too, and then of course
But not
Scarface, Tony Montana.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm still trying to pinpoint that performance where like he went full like acting,
yeah, right. Yeah, like the big emphasis on words.
Yeah. Uh,
I don't know.
but
I
yeah,
think
well,
I think
well,
ultimate bombast is when he played the devil in Devil's Advocate.
I still haven't seen that either, so I'll have to check that out.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely like a lot of like bombastic kind of Al Pacino in that movie.
Which I don't mind. It's funny because it's like there's a lot of moments like where he's interacting with like his CIs and stuff in this film where it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that initial one where he goes to meet him at like the chop shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like also and then later on he goes to like meet like the brother who's supposed to have like information for him.
Yeah, like they meet in Koreatown.
Yeah, that's how you know it's
He's
a
like, I
Michael
know.
Mann movie because he emphasizes Koreatown so much.
Yeah. I was like, I know that plaza. Like,
Yeah, me too.
why
I
are
was like,
those
I know that place.
there?
Oh, I know that club. I know.
Yeah, that store's still there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because Michael Mann. I think he basically took the Macaulay character and then like kind of transported it or transposed it for his movie Collateral.
Okay,
Have you seen Collateral?
I haven't seen Collateral either.
Okay, but when you see the main character played by Tom Cruise, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's Macaulay.
Okay, I'll check it. I'll watch that soon.
A little bit looser than maybe
Not as
Robert De Niro's
romantic.
portrayal. I mean, they're not the same character. Let me
Right.
get that distinction clear. They're not the same character, but the kind of archetype of that character is Michael Mann does use it again in Collateral.
I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like what other. Um, oh well, another kind of because the first time I had heard about this film was there was a comedian that was talking about like how he kind of misses like well acted movies, and he's a fantastic impressionist,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about like the he was because he has a really good Pacino and De Niro impersonation, and so he
Mm-hmm.
was kind of reenacting some of those scenes from Heat, and
Mm-hmm.
it's I'll have to send I'll send you the link to the performance because it was by a comedian named Aries Spears who used to be on Mad TV,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my god he's got some really good impersonations, but yeah his Heat performances like it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm trying to think of like another because there's the really good scene obviously between Macaulay and Hannah. Hannah uh, between Hannah and his wife and talking about like it's like I keep it on the inside because it keeps me on the edge, where I have to be, and he's kind of doing like that his whole speech or his whole message, or it's this cadence that he has to it that makes it so powerful. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, what was it? The stepdaughter is played by Natalie Portman. That was the
Right.
other one. And I always thought that the wife, like, because she kind of looks like a poor man's version of Demi Moore.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I
um,
see that.
yeah. Let's see, what else was? I can't really think of anything like other than um, of any other like scene or that like was really like powerful or anything like that. But like though, it was just overall it was just such a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I like movies where it's like you kind of don't really know who you want to root for.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that ambiguity where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of rooting for the bad guy, but like like he's gonna lose.
Right. Then, okay, for sure you have to watch Hell or High Water.
Okay,
And I know I told you this before, but yeah, I mean, if you really enjoy that kind of like, oh, do I root for the good guy or the bad guy? Watch Hell or High Water because that's what all that movie's all about.
okay,
Yeah, and you do have like this kind of you do have this conflict within you. It's like, oh, do I vote, root for the cops or do I vote for the do I root for the two bank robbers who are doing this for a good reason, but they're still hurting people.
but I was rooting for Neil Macaulay in a way too because he had lived such this very structured, almost monastic lifestyle, and he finally found someone that he really cared about,
Mm-hmm.
and it was everything was in his grasp. And he talks a little bit about his life to the woman that he meets, and he's talking about how it's like, it's he has no family essentially. He essentially kind of grew up on his own and made it. I mean, his really only you know semi-positive influences in his life was the guy that he met in jail who talked about that
Yeah,
gave him
yeah,
his
his
philosophy.
yeah, basically his mentor who taught him that mantra. If don't get involved with anything that you're not willing to walk away like in 30 seconds flat.
Yeah.
Which again goes to that asceticism. Um, I decided
Yeah.
to pull up the definition. Asceticism: severe self-discipline and avoidance of all forms of indulgence, typically for religious reasons. But of course, this guy he does. He doesn't necessarily do it for religious reasons, but he adheres to that particular mantra with religious fervor.
Right, and it's like you kind of. I was so in a way I was rooting for him in that way because it's like, man, like the guy is like had nothing his whole life, and he
Mm-hmm.
finally has something within his grasp that gave his life more meaning, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like and it all kind of went to hell because his alter ego, his you know was outmaneuvered him. And in a way, like his crew kind of messed it up too.
Right, yeah, because Wingro he kind of goes cowboy, and then
And
Val
clearly, he was
Kilmer's character, yeah, Val Kilmer's in this movie. Val Kilmer's character, he messes it up in that he almost disrupts the balance because he has that spat with his wife, and you know Macaulay needs him working at his best.
right.
Um, and then Tom Sizemore's character, he's just kind of like he is just like kind of too much of a follower. Uh, in that like when Macaulay asks like, oh, should we do this job, and he asks when he asks Tom Sizemore character is like, yeah, whatever you want, whatever you think, man, it's just I'll do whatever you do, and he says no. He's like, no, this isn't one of those situations. You have to tell me what you think. And then he kind of just goes and he kind of votes yes anyways.
Right.
Right? And then of course Trejo, played by Danny Trejo. Um, he betrays the crew unwillingly because I think his wife is taken hostage or whatever.
Yeah, by Wangro.
Yeah, or by Van Zant.
Was it Van Zandt or was it Wangro that did it?
What was that?
I think it was Wangro that did it, not Van Zandt.
No, possibly.
Because Wangro, yeah, because at the scene when Macaulay found Trejo, he was asking, he's like, "Why'd you do it, man?" And it's like, he had my wife.
Oh,
And it was
I thought he was talking about Van Zant.
it was that's right. It was Wangro and Van Zandt were working together.
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was the other okay. That was the other one. Like, because the initial heist was them stealing these bonds
Mhm.
that were
From Van Zant.
from Van Zandt, and they were trying to work a deal to like he was going to get his money back from the insurance, but they were also going to, sell them back to him at like a certain, like a percentage. So that way, like they made money and he made another like, bunch of money.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But
So they make some money, but Van Zandt gets, maybe a little less than double the money that that he supposedly lost.
Exactly. And so there was that, and then he decides to to cross Macaulay, which was a huge mistake.
Right.
And Waingro kind of screws that up too, because no one was supposed to be killed in that heist. And then it also leads into the to the bank job, and they have to find a replacement for Waingro, and it goes. There's a series of events that just cause the kind of that avalanche of stuff to go wrong.
Right. Yeah. It's just like the one little piece that's not there causes the entire thing to collapse.
Exactly.
But yeah, the ending too is just like amazing because Robert De Niro's character Macaulay laid it out for him, and like during that parlay where it's like, it doesn't matter what happens because I'm never going back to jail.
Right.
And you think initially you think like, oh man, this guy is like so smart, he's so disciplined that there's no way that they're gonna get him back into prison. At least that's what you're thinking. That's what you're initially set up to believe. But it wasn't. But it's not until the last scene and the kind of the gunfight, the duel at the airport between Detective Hannah and Macaulay, where you understand why like the true meaning of like his like devotion to or his mindset on things, where it's like like I'm never going back to jail. Doesn't mean that he's going to do everything he can not to get there, but it's like no matter what happens, he's not going back. And that which includes the option of being killed,
which
does happen.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like another level, like, oh dang, so good.
Yeah, and it's like that final scene too is like and you even feel like Detective Hannah's like there's a sense of like remorse too. It's like fuck, it wasn't like yeah we got the bad guys, but it's like it was just kind of the inevitable. And and even during that parlay it says like I don't think in this particular case I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it, but this is what I'm born to do. It's like I have to do it.
Yeah, it's one of those bittersweet kills for Detective Hannah. And then like in his dying breath, he tells him like, "I told you I'm not going back," and then he dies.
Fucking powerful scene, man. It was great.
Powerful scene. Yeah, I think we talked about this movie to death.
Anything else that you want to like? Another scene or character that you?
As is custom, we kind of did mention like the whole Simpsons thing at the beginning, but there is another connection to the Simpsons in this movie in the actor Hank Azaria.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, he does have a part. He does have a part in this movie. He plays the it's not mistress, but basically Val Kilmer's character and Ashley Judd's characters, they're married and have a kid, but Ashley Judd is getting some on the side with Hank Azaria.
That's right.
Hank Azaria's character. So that's your Simpsons connection for this segment.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
He was actually pretty good in the movie too. I liked his. I mean, I didn't like his character, but like he played that character well.
Right. You play like kind of like a scummy New Jersey low life, kind of like loose connection to like the mob.
Yeah.
Kind of based out of Las Vegas, and so on and so forth. Um, that's all I have to say about that. So now let's get into our rating. Robert, I'm gonna let you start us off.
So you can have me start off. I think I'd rate this as definitely a 4. I just the characters are fantastic. It's if you like lots of great dialogue, good action, suspense. Uh, this is the movie. This is a really good one. And just like I said, the scenes, especially between Macaulay and Hannah, are just fantastic. It's some of the best movie dialogue between characters.
Mm. All right, cool. Yeah, for me, I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, 4.5. I mean, as much as I love this movie, yeah, to give it a perfect, give it a full 5 is a bit much. Even though I really love this movie and I think it's great, but uh, the half is basically for more technical things as opposed to artistic or creative.
Right, right.
Yeah, so
I like I said, this is a must watch. Go see it.
oh,
It's great.
absolutely, absolutely,
I will
absolutely.
definitely. I'm probably gonna watch this movie several more times.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely want to find that early '90s version of this movie, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe like on the if he on like maybe like the Blu-ray, maybe they'll have that version on there.
Maybe. Oh yeah, the TV movie was called L.A. Takedown, and it was in 1989.
All right, so if anyone knows where we can find that, go ahead and put that in the comments.
Right. Yeah, and the only reason, yeah, and like, again, the only reason why I know about this earlier TV movie is because that episode we did with Eric, and he was talking about Heat, and he was the one that shared with us that information.
Yeah, so we'll have to find that and we'll talk about it when we do.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to see it because just from like the clip of the parlay scene, I was like, oh my god, this is like hot garbage compared to Heat.
Well, I talked about like how there's a number of years ago we were doing like a movie marathon for my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and we were watching this movie called Parts of the Clonus Horror through like it was through Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's like, and we were like, there's a few of us who were just like, I know this movie. Where the fuck have I seen this movie before? And I looked it up, and it's like, oh yeah, it's The Island, and with the movie with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there was a huge lawsuit from where they essentially stole the screenplay and made another movie. Now they made it better than Parts of the Clone Horror, which is a garbage film, but it's essentially the same thing.
Right, 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 right.
Although this movie's, LA Takedown and Heat, it's Man's movie.
Yeah, it's still Man.
It's
Like
his
Man did
project. So,
L.A. Takedown, but then he felt that it, it wasn't doing his script justice for the TV movie. So yeah,
yeah. So he got more successful, and then it's like, I'm gonna make this for real,
mm-hmm.
the
Yeah,
right
yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, and like execute it in the way I like envisioned it.
And I think,
And I'm so glad that he did.
yeah. Well, we when we did the Hitchcock month last year, we did it with The Man Who Knew Too Much. Obviously both those were done by Hitchcock. We both felt that the 50s version was a much better film. Just because, there was better production value, all that good stuff. So, but yeah, definitely glad that Heat was made. It's a great film.
Absolutely. All right, that was our review of Heat. Robert gives it a 4. I give it a 4.5. Definitely a movie you need to watch. Definitely, put it on your list, preferably somewhere close to the top. And you can thank us later.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. I hope you were entertained. I know I was. What was that?
I certainly was.
Oh, of course. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday night, sometimes live. Next week, though, will be a pre-tape, just so you know, because I'm going to go on I'm going on a pre-Thanksgiving fishing trip with my dad. So next week will be a pre-tape. Fair warning. But don't forget to join us every Tuesday night, sometimes live. And don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. Circular Jerk's main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter @PodcastCOJ and Instagram @Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that being said, for Robert and myself, we say thank you, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, don't do anything I would.